So, Democratic debate thoughts, winners and losers.
I think the winner was definitely Bernie, and I think the loser was definitely Hillary. You can't really even count O'Malley because why is he still up there?
Well, and did you notice how he was being ignored through most of the debate?
Yeah, and I think the loser really were the moderators because they both kept interrupting Bernie when he was trying to respond with legitimate thoughts. And I think in a debate where you're only essentially talking to two of the people, that's not good.
Well, you know who one of the moderators' husband is?
Yeah, Alan Greenspan, and it would have been easy to attack Greenspan in this thing, but Hillary thought everything Obama's been doing is just great, and like on the healthcare. Well, then Bernie said, "Well, look, I was on the committee that put that thing together,
Yeah,
but
I wrote it. He said,
there's
I helped write that. Well, and you know why Hillary is up Obama's you know what? She
yeah,
doesn't want to go to jail.
yeah, she wants to be pardoned before it ever goes to
She
trial.
doesn't want to go to jail. So of course she's gonna
Yeah,
kiss him you know what.
yeah, it was blatantly obvious, and the whole thing about is creepy Bill going to be helping you out there and everything. Yeah, that's what we need. They, they don't seem to get the fact, and she doesn't, that people are trying to move away from Washington and insiders. They don't want another super insider to make her even more inside.
Right. Well, a lot of people are disappointed in Obama.
And
And regardless, it's a good point that the too big to fail banks are bigger than they were when they were too big to fail. Now
exactly.
they're like Star Wars too big to fail.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know? And like Star Wars, Hillary brings nothing new to the table like the new Star Wars.
Well, and I think what she does is she's got the big Wall Street cloud hanging over. There's no question about it, and the Byrne was happy to point that out. It's like, look, I don't think you can get all this money from these people and say that you're not really going to, that you're going to tackle them. It's not going to happen. Everybody knows that.
And she can't respond to it because it's true.
Yeah. So I think that was now the real losers were the people who didn't get a chance to see it live or tape it. Now I had to go back and see it again because I had some personal commitments, family commitments. But fundamentally, if you look at the number of people, and this is part of the plan, that watched the Democratic debate versus the playoff game, it was
Well, and
ridiculous.
you know what's funny is Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you know, Hillary's campaign manager, I mean, DNC
Yeah,
leader,
they're one and the same. They're one and the same.
was
So
saying that, yeah, we were shooting for maximum exposure. So she's either incredibly stupid or a liar.
well, she's lying because she is not that stupid to think you can go up against when Sunday Night Football is the number one show on TV all season in prime time. How are you going to go up against a playoff game in the same time slot? This is preposterous.
Well,
But
and how does anybody call Hillary a dominating winner, which they're spinning?
well, you I think that's a good way to judge whether or not people are biased in their coverage. And when you see that, you have to say this is a biased comment, and there's no sense in getting any more information from this source because it's irrelevant. It's simply another campaign angle for Secretary Clinton. But I think you know she's trying to get closer to Bernie on some of these things. And that's the kind of frustrating part for him. But he keeps pointing out, "I'm not. We're not the same. Here's how we're different,"
Well,
which is good.
he points out, which is true, is the fundamental problem of everything is Citizens United and billionaires controlling politicians and the system being rigged. And that's at the root of many a problem. And Hillary cannot address that because she's part of that problem. She's as
Yeah.
establishment crony as they come.
Yeah.
So there's no response to that.
Uh, Incidentally, there was an article by this guy McAfee, you know, the cybersecurity guy, and he was going down on the White House, the key things that everybody's talking about. And as he pointed out, one of the main things no one is talking about is the whole threat of cybersecurity. That the former head of the NSA got up there and said, "We know the Chinese have the ability to turn off the power grid in the United States." Now, do you have any idea what kind of impact that? Now, I don't think they would necessarily do it.
No, I would.
But if North Korea would get that capability, they would sure as hell do it, just for the hell of it, because the guy's a wacko. So, but this is as serious. It's as serious as ISIS, because they're playing in it too. So, and I don't know. I don't think she was really held accountable. I don't think Hillary was held accountable for all the disruption in the Middle East as much as she could have been. And certainly Andrea Mitchell wasn't going.
No, of course not. I mean, Andrea Mitchell was completely.
She was a plant.
Yeah, completely skewed against Bernie.
Yeah.
The one thing I noticed was just Hillary's pure and utter disdain when O'Malley is trying to challenge her on something. It's like, you punk, you're lucky to even be on the stage with me. You're lucky I'm even acknowledging your existence, punk.
Yeah,
who's in your green closet? My green room I've got Ellen, I've got Katy Perry, I've got Kim Kardashian, I've got John Bon Jovi. It's a party, dude. And all the power players are there. And who the hell are you, O'Malley? And who the hell are you to say anything bad about me? Because I will destroy you, dude. She just it was just so seething. Like, you don't even deserve to be here.
Yeah.
You could just feel that from her. It was like the Benghazi hearings when they were, when these junior congressmen are questioning her, and she's just rolling her eyes like, punk, I would destroy your life like that.
Yeah, which
she could do. She could destroy anybody's life like that, and has destroyed lives like that.
Yes, I think that's true. But yeah, so I thought Bernie was definitely the winner. I think it's going to be very interesting, and the mainstream Democrats are still saying that if Bernie wins the first two, it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, I don't know how they come up with that idea, because the two states are actually fairly different.
Well, and they're also figuring out a way to replace him. Like, okay, if Bernie wins these and things start going south, who do we get for our replacement establishment candidate? Do we put in retread Kerry, retread Gore?
Yeah.
Do we pull Howard Dean away from his gig as a lobbyist for Big Farm? He started criticizing Bernie after he sold out and took his gig at Big Farm.
That was sad. Yeah, and I think Bernie did a good job of pointing out some of the inequities that take place in the healthcare system today, including the 29 million people who don't have it.
Well, the thing is Bernie's on point because he's been on point in the same direction for his whole career. So he has his center that he can always go to.
Yeah, I don't agree with Bernie on the fact that everybody has to go to college, because why? For example, you can go here and take a 3-week class on how to code and know Ruby and start coding. You don't have to go to a 4-year school to learn how to do that. So why pile on a bunch of debt so that you can go to college for 4 years?
Right. Well, his take seems to be make college like what high school is now.
Which is to me is irrelevant, because what high school is now is they just pass everybody through.
Mm.
They just want to. It's a babysitting service and they kick you out. Like, if you're not doing well, the last thing they want to do is put you back, because they want to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think there has to be a new And what he's not conveying really is, here's my new vision for America. Well, he's conveying the sense that he's very upset with the inequities, as is everyone. But I don't resonate as much with his, well, first of all, I don't resonate with Hillary at all, but I don't resonate with his message in that in my view, you have to create an environment where smaller groups of people can achieve things. And when you have gigantic banks who control 66% of all the assets in the country, you certainly don't have that. But it would be nice to say, and he's very critical, as we know, of the Federal Reserve, and he's well documented, not only Greenspan, but Bernanke as well. But why doesn't he say, here's what I think the Federal Reserve should do? Why don't they do a plan like 182?
Well, at the very least, he's pointing out the root of, the Lake Victoria of the problems, and starting there.
Yeah,
and he's the only one who's doing it.
Well,
because nobody else can.
I think Trump did it, like when they asked him about, what do you think about the inequities of these people getting carried interest? He's like, it's wrong. They should be taxed like it's regular income. So I think Trump, because he doesn't really have an agenda, he just talks about what he's thinking about at the moment. But we'll see if he can get focused, because he's going to have to face somebody if he gets the nomination.
Do you think this debate, honestly, is going to make any difference with anybody anyway? Because so few people watched it, and is it going to, did Bernie do enough to turn anybody to his side, or did Hillary, since Hillary dominated and kicked everybody's ass, allegedly, did she turn anybody over to her side?
See, I think I looked at a couple other places besides CNN, and I don't think it was clear to anybody else that Hillary won the debate. Nobody. And I think Bernie did gain some supporters from the people who are Hillaryites. They're just going to remain Hillary. They're like Luddites. They're not changing. But the people who are in the 42% of the electorate who actually are thinking they're independent probably were swayed. I mean, they were probably like, okay, yeah, that's right. I can see that. That's definitely a problem. You can't have,
So if you were watching the debate with a clean slate, you would go Sanders. Just a clean slate.
I want to know more, but I like what he said. Tell me more. Now, I haven't had a chance to review his tax plan yet. I have to tell you, I kind of cringe when he thinks that people who make $250,000 a year are rich, because, as you know, living here in California, you're not rich at
right. But if you're living somewhere else, you're rich.
Well, if you're living in Iowa, you're well off. But if you're living in California, or New Jersey, or Massachusetts, or Connecticut, you're not rich. It's, first of all, if you just look at, we have an 11% for people at that income level. There's an 11% state income tax here. So if you pile on his 52%, you could be paying 63%.
Right, but 52% is not for people making $250,000.
No, but okay, if you're making $5 million, should you pay 66% of your income to? I don't think so. I think that's outrageous. It's just me. And this is where in my view, he's getting it wrong. It's not about taxation. It's about creating opportunity. And opportunity is not based upon education. There are plenty of educated people out there who have over $1 trillion worth of college debt, right? And why we can't redo those loans is absolutely absurd. It's absolutely patently absurd. And I can guarantee you, if that were Trump, he would go in and say, okay, listen, punk, if you don't change that, here's the way we're going to start taxing you.
So let's grade our participants. What grade would you give O'Malley?
Well, I would give him a C, just because he did kind of get Hillary going a little bit, in the sense that why don't you, just as you said, why don't you just shut up, because you're not making me look good, so just shut up. If you want to compliment me, keep talking.
Right.
If you call me out on something. So that's why I give him a C.
And he's kind of like the Democratic Kashishi, because all Kashishi talks about is, well, when I was governor, I did it. When I'm someone who did it. I did it. You know, when I did it. In my state, I did it. And O'Malley's sort of the same way. He
Yeah,
did this, he
he's
did
the
that.
same way, except he's from an even smaller state.
Right. And when anybody thinks of Baltimore or Maryland, they think of a city burning down.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I mean, you talk about inequities in income. Maryland's like the poster child for that, right? Maryland and
what
Virginia.
what grade do you give our queen?
I would have to give her a C minus.
A C minus.
Yeah, I give her a C minus because she stayed with her lines. She knows her lines well. She's rehearsed them. She tried to introduce a couple of things she thought would gain her points, which probably didn't. So I give her a C minus. And I give Bernie, I give him a B plus.
A B plus.
B plus. I was bordering on A minus, but I think a B plus. And the reason is, for me, he hasn't given that positive message that people want hope. This is what Obama said. They want change and hope, not it's all so terrible, and then you give an extended thing about sometime in the future when you finally pay off your college debt, maybe you'll be able to get a job. There's no job creation. I don't see anything for job creation.
Right now it definitely seems that the electorate is responding to fear and anger and outsiders.
Well, the outsiders are absolutely on the top of the list. And that's why it could very well be Bernie and the Donald. You know, I actually I would love to see that debate.
Well, actually, the debate everybody wants to see, according to Carly Fiorina, or whatever her name is Carly and Hillary. That's what she says. That's the debate everybody wants to see. Do you really want to see that debate? I don't.
That just shows how out of touch she is. Nobody wants to see her debating anything.
And you know, Hillary just looks, I mean, Bernie looks old, but Bernie looks kind of cool old. Hillary just looks old.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
really aged in the last 8 years. A lot.
Yeah. Well, remember, she's had health issues too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But so I mean, there it is. I think Bernie won it, and we'll see what happens at the polls.